I recently finished reading this book called Shadow Daughter by Harriet Brown, and it's a memoir based off this woman's life and her experience with estrangement. She went no contact, well, she had years of on and off of no contact, low contact with her mother, and then her mother ended up passing, and it's kind of like her whole experience with estrangement. And so that made me want to talk about this a little bit more. In the book, though, it talks about how for a lot of people, when they decide to go no contact or decide to have low contact, whatever it may be, like the extent of the estrangement, it usually is caused by like a specific moment that to others can seem very inconspicuous and not like of utmost importance. But it's like the straw that broke the camel's back, you know. It was like years of mistreatment or years of abuse or years of neglect, whatever it is, and then something that seems small to others happens and is essentially like the thing that makes you wake up like, okay, this person is never going to change. They're never going to stop treating me in this specific way. And so I'm going to talk about my moment that broke the straw that broke the camel's back. It was when I was still pregnant with my second. My kids are really close in age, literally 2 years apart. So I had one child at home. I was a stay-at-home mom, and staying at home, taking care of my daughter, and was pregnant at the time with my son. And my mom was texting me about, and I'm talking about my relationship with my mom. I have no contact with her, and it's been almost, in September of this year, it'll be 2 years since I've been no contact. But she was texting me about my brother. I have a younger brother, and at the time he was a senior in high school, and he was going to be graduating pretty soon. And he decided, or at the time, he had decided that he wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon, which was what my mom had told him his whole life that he should be. But anyways, so he was talking about how after graduating, he was wanting to go to college to study to be an orthopedic surgeon. And my mom, I think we were on the phone actually. We were on the phone. She was talking to me about it and saying she was so proud of my brother. And, he has such big dreams. And he had big dreams, like bigger dreams than she had ever had or that I had ever had. And that moment made me so frustrated, so angry, because I went to college for theater. I went to college, originally I was going to be a nursing major, like my mother, and I decided I didn't want to be a nurse. I had really fallen in love with acting my senior year of high school, and I was like, why don't I pursue this, And I got a minor in English. So my bachelor's degree I have a Bachelor of Arts in theater with a minor in English. And my dream was to go pursue being a professional actor. And so when my mom said he has big dreams, bigger than I ever had, bigger than you ever had, I was just like, excuse me, what? I've had big dreams. They may not have been to be a doctor. They may not have been things that you thought were important. But to me, I've had dreams, and they're as equally as important as my brother's desire to be a doctor. But honestly, that moment like really made me think, you know what? She just doesn't see like my value. And it wasn't like, and again, grand scheme of things, to people who, haven't dealt with estrangement, you may think, what? Like, that's nothing. You were just, that was something that you should have had a conversation with and, would have resolved. But no, it wouldn't have, because that was one comment, the most recent comment in the like scheme of comments of like making me feel small. That was just the last comment she made that was, in a way to subliminally make me feel small and make me feel like I had no value. But there were many other comments that had come before that. And so that was kind of, for me, the straw that broke the camel's back. The last thing she said to me that really made me feel like, you know what, that at that point, that's what made me have less of like, at that point I started having very low contact. I told her, like, I was pregnant, you know. I was like, I have a lot going on. I would get really triggered anytime she would call me or text me. Like, it would just, anytime I saw a notification from her, it would infuriate me. And I was literally growing a child, and I was like, I need to protect myself. So I told her, like, hey, I don't have time to talk every week, because my mom would literally call me like multiple times a week. And I was like, we don't have that type of relationship, you know. I couldn't say this to her at the time because she would have taken it personally. And she had already said to certain family members that I, you know, seemed like I hated her, or that I was trying to keep her from like her granddaughter from my kid, which I wasn't. We live hours away from my mother for a reason, before all of this too. But, like, you know, I already had low contact, but then at that point I was trying to make it where I had even less contact. Like, it was like, you can, you know, let's try. I remember I said, like, let's try to talk like once a week, you know, and I had a set day. And she was like, okay. And the first time, like, we had tried to have a conversation on those weekly meetings, she was so short because she was mad and she was trying to punish me for setting boundaries. But it was like, this is what I can do, you know? And eventually, you know, I can go further into what led to us just being no contact. But yeah, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the small thing in the grand scheme of things that made me really realize, you know what, you have put me down my entire life. You have always, you know, in like subconscious ways, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, tried to make me feel small or said things, you know. And like, I went to college, I graduated, I got my bachelor's degree in 3 years. I was 21 when I got my bachelor's degree. And even if I didn't complete school, my worth is not, like, it does not matter if I have a college degree or not. You know what I mean? Your worth is inherent. Everybody has value. And that was something that I never felt with my mother. So yeah, if you would like to share, what was the moment that, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back for you? What was the thing that to others may seem really small, but to you was important and was like a wake-up call? Leave it in the comments below. I want to talk more about, like, estrangement and honestly, like, yeah, this book, I finished this and it just made me want to talk more about my own experience and like connect with others who have dealt with estrangement or who are dealing with estrangement. And let's, like, make it less of a taboo thing. You know, a lot of people want to say, like, oh, this is just like a trend and people are so selfish now. And it's like, no, people are just actually realizing that, you know, blood doesn't necessarily mean family, and how people treat you and how they make you feel is a lot more important than just, you know, keeping silent and keeping the peace, you know, not speaking up and standing up for yourself. So